All right, welcome to another edition of Two Guys and a Mic. We haven't been with you guys since the Super Bowl, so definitely wanted to, reach out to you guys today with a little content. And I'm one of your hosts, Big Sean.
And I am RP. What's going on, people? It's good to be with you guys. It's good to be with you again, Sean.
Yes, sir.
This been
Definitely doing Snowmageddon today.
Yeah. I was just about to say it's been a kind of a crazy last couple of days. I mean, being here in Cleveland, we are used to having some wintry weather. We're used to that. But we're seeing, I think I just saw a thing today where 70% of the country is getting snow right now within these last day or so.
The only decent spot is South Florida right now.
That's the only decent spot. South Florida. How you doing to my people down in Fort Lauderdale? That's where my wife's people are kind of residing or have resided. They've since moved towards Orlando, but we still know some folks down there. So how y'all doing? We're probably gonna come visit real soon. It's cold as hell here, and I think proximity-wise, I'm still where I live. It's about a mile or so from Lake Erie. We're right on the border of Euclid, going east. Generally, we don't get a lot of snow. It usually passes over us. We'll see a lot of snow. We don't get a lot of snow. Usually the snow belt, and then further east as you go towards Euclid, Wickliffe, Willowick, Willoughby, Chardon, et cetera, Ashtabula, all that stuff. We have like a foot of snow here, at least a foot and a half of snow, actually. So that's saying something, because I don't even want to see what people have in Twinsburg. I don't want to see what people have in Menor. I don't want to see what people have in Bedford. My mom, who lives in Bedford, said, my dad had to get out there with the snow plow today. So, that's something that I don't necessarily like because I can't get over there. But, it's been bad. But my brother in Houston didn't have power overnight. So at least we had heat here.
Yeah, they're dealing with ice. That's a problem with down south, because you have the extreme temperature change. So when you have that temperature drop, the way that they do when a storm comes in, they get the sheet of ice, which is much worse than snow.
Yeah.
Snow you can deal with, you can navigate, but that ice, especially that black ice and stuff like that, it's dangerous. And especially down there, they don't have any type of salt trucks or snow removal. I don't know why anybody would even go out at all down there. And I know people got jobs and stuff they have to go to, but it's not really worth risking your life. You saw that pilot last week they had in Texas.
Yeah, and I think that was in Fort Worth.
Yeah, Fort Worth area.
Yeah, I agree. And I don't think, we're very fortunate here in the Great Lakes area, because we have this little special thing that nobody in the country likes. Most people in the country hate this little small thing that we have a lot of. It's called salt, rock salt. We have salt deposits underneath Lake Erie, and actually they're underneath each of the Great Lakes. So we mine a lot of salt, but the other parts of the country don't utilize the salt. They think it's better to throw dirt or rocks. When I lived in Anchorage, one of the snowiest, iciest places, coldest places on the planet, at least in the northern hemisphere, they threw rocks and dust and gravel and all that stuff. They threw that stuff down. I don't think that stuff works the same way. My youngest brother lived in Wyoming. He said they did the same thing there. Vegas doesn't get anything. When I was traveling back and forth to Vegas, so they don't have a system out there. So I'm certain that places like Atlanta, places like Houston, Dallas, they don't have a system. What system?
No, when I lived in Alabama, they would put sand on the street, which is ridiculous.
That's what I mean. See what I'm saying?
It just made it worse. You might have just left it alone than doing that.
just leave.
Just leave it alone.
Just let me run into and listen, they only putting it in the intersection. Like as you get into the intersection.
Yeah.
It's not like they're putting it all along the roads. So you're not slowing down at all. You're gonna slam into whoever's in front of you, which was that tragic type of situation that we saw on the freeway down in Fort Worth. So much love, many prayers and blessings upon those families. I think 6 people died in that. Many people were hurt and injured. So, my prayers to all of those folks. We make a little bit of light of things, but you can't make light of people getting hurt and people.
Right, you know what, too, and also this kind of speaks to a bigger issue. This is why we need a serious infrastructure bill to redo it. Because, I understand that you live in the South, so you very rarely have these type of situations, but their infrastructure can't handle it. But you need to at least do something where it's, just in case something like that happens. I mean, we're the richest country in the world. That, if it gets below zero, that your power lines can handle it, or ice over, they can handle it. And really, power lines should be underground now anyway. You have technology to do it, and some places actually do have power lines underground. But nobody wants to, especially the private sector, they don't want to pay to redo the infrastructure to handle things like that, man. But right now, you shouldn't have these issues of people going, 3 and 4 days without power. Now, if you got a hurricane come through or something like that, some stuff you just can't. You always can't stop Mother Nature from doing some damage. But just because it gets a little cold, a little icy, you should be able to have some type of
and that's honestly that's what I'm saying about it. But we're up north, so I have the same issues with the salt trucks. Like, to me, if you come through before the snow gets here, and just throw down some brine, throw down some rock salt, like that's what I do in my yard. I throw down rock salt before it all starts, or I shovel early into this situation, throw down rock salt so that when I actually can go out and shovel once everything is over with, my bottom layer isn't totally frozen over.
Right.
It creates an empty, easy, thing for me to just move out. But I don't understand why they don't do that on the streets, or why ODOT doesn't participate in that, or why the city of Cleveland doesn't participate in that, and the other cities as well. But some cities are better at it than others. I will give. Listen, if you ride through Bracknell, you ain't gonna have no problem.
Or Beechwood. Man, I just think Beechwood had heated streets.
I think they do.
And they don't matter how bad it's going, their streets are always pristine. Right.
Because people ain't walking in the streets. People are walking on the sidewalks because it's clear. Like, I don't even understand it. They're right down the street from me. They're probably like 5, maybe 6 minutes away from me. And I go that way sometimes other than going on 90 just because. I'm like, no, let's just go through Bracknell. And it's like a smooth ride all the way downtown.
Mm-hmm.
Like nothing has happened. No, I don't care what the blizzard has done. It is not happening in Bracknell. I don't know what control they have over all of that stuff, but man, Bracknell got it together. So that, shout out to Bracknell. One day, I'm gonna be in Bracknell. One day on the lake too. On the lake, not on the other side of Bracknell. I'm gonna be on the lake,
right?
The $1 million houses or whatever. But don't let us deviate too far. We're gonna get back on task. So today we only have a couple topics. As the show kind of moves forward, we're gonna start with the Cavaliers. Only because the Cavs, actually, we've had 2 teams in the national spotlight here. But we're going to start with the Cavs. So the Cavs have been in the national spotlight recently, within the last 2 or 3 days, because we have a situation that we knew was going to be a situation. Sean and I actually even addressed this in our show some months ago about Andre Drummond. We knew when he got signed that he actually only got signed because there was nowhere else he was going to get $30 million to do what he does. Not that he's bad. He's not a bad ball player. But to get $27, $28 million a year at this point, it's not a lot of teams that's going to dole that out. I don't think I was about to say DeAndre Ayton. I don't think Andre Drummond is going to get that kind of money in another contract. Now, I've said that before, and I've been proven wrong, but that's just my opinion. I don't think there's teams that are trying to pay a 7-foot dude that doesn't stretch the floor, so to speak. I don't know that he's going to get plus 25 million, that is. So, Sean, can you tell me if I'm off base with that thought process, or what do you think?
No, I think you're absolutely right, especially the way that the game is played now, where if it's more of an outside in game, you want your center to be more of either just a rim protector and not necessarily a low post scorer. Now, you want a guy that can offensive rebound, do putbacks, every now and then dump it down, he may have a little versatility to score, but he's not your main focus. Not like back in the day when you had Akeem and Patrick Ewing and those guys, you could dump it down to them, and kind of work inside out where they could, look at the floor, kind of scan in the post and make plays out of the post. Like Akeem and Brad Doherty and Patrick, those guys were kind of great passers too. They can kind of get the ball in the first, kind of survey the floor and make the decision there. Now it's more, you're playing outside in, but Drummond's game is kind of old school.
Yeah, it is.
So now, you're not going to pay a guy, I don't think, that type of money. Like somebody had made a point, which is a good point, that Andre Drummond can have 30 points and 23 rebounds and not have an impact on the game at all. And that's a good point.
Ain't that crazy? Ain't that crazy? Because, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off.
No, you didn't cut me off. You good.
And the way that we grew up with the game, and the way that you and I grew up with the game, a guy had, like you just said, a 30 and 20. Listen, if Hakeem Olajuwon had 30 points and 20 rebounds, who would you say won the game?
Exactly, the Rockets. Two, because the game was played, okay, we're going to get their center or their best rim protector or defender. We're going to get him in foul trouble. So we're going down to Akeem, and we're going to put that pressure on you to make you defend them.
They got to keep switching people in and out on you.
Right. So and if you come and double team Akeem, I'm kicking it out to Vernon Maxwell. I'm kicking it out to Kenny Smith, or to Stort, whoever that can hit either a three or a mid-range jumper or whatever.
OTIS was dope at hitting that 17-footer. He can hit that 17-footer on a regular basis. So, you hear that from where we grew up from and how we grew up watching the game. That was a game-changing. Those are game-changing stats. You're absolutely right. Those aren't happening right now. I also would throw David Robinson in that same category.
Yeah, most definitely.
Those guys that really just down low change the game. Like, you just can't. If you're trying to single cover him with John Concact or with some basic center, man, we about to eat you alive tonight. It's like, come on, bro. We about to kill you. You on single John Concact even on Brad Doherty, and I wasn't even a big Brad Doherty fan. But Brad about to eat this dude tonight. Like, those are the low post guys that we grew up watching, the McHale's, the Parishes, the Dohertys, the Nances. Nance was dope in the low post too.
Right.
So we ain't taking James Worthy. We ain't taking nothing away from none of those guys. The game ain't played that way anymore. So what some of these guys used to do, Karl Malone's, when he would get 30 and Karl Malone, if you saw a stat line when we grew up, when we were getting to be grown men, up 30 and 15, Utah won. And you knew Utah won. But Sean is absolutely right. You can watch now, for some reason, you can watch DeAndre. Why do I keep calling this guy DeAndre? You can watch Andre Drummond get 25 points and 20 rebounds, and they lose by 3. That's almost some unheard of. Those are some unheard of type of stats, but it tells you where the game is going. So I just don't see this dude making that kind of same kind of money going forward. And he's still as valuable as he is, because I think he still gets you somewhere close to about somewhere between 4 and 8 extra possessions just by himself.
Mm-hmm.
It gets you somewhere close to 4 to 8 possessions, I think. Even with that, that's not $30 million. Like on the equivalent, like doing a lateral move. I don't think money-wise, laterally, it's going to work. Again, I could be wrong, and there could be a team that does that. So we knew when he signed this contract that this was what was going to happen. That we were basically signing him to trade him at some point. We discussed that. We knew that, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So here we are at that point. We're at that point, and now the Cavs have asked Mr. Drummond to have a seat. There is now. I just had this discussion, and we all understand this. So let me speak on this from the organizational standpoint. The organization is looking at it like, yo, listen, we've been trying to move the guy. We've been trying to figure some stuff out. I don't think that they would have set him without having a discussion with him. So I think he's okay with it. That's my initial thought. Secondly, and I'll ask Sean to chime in on his opinion from this particular standpoint, and then we'll get into what happened with Draymond Green. I think the team actually, they spoke with him. Maybe even discussed a buyout, because I spoke on that on the IG and on
right,
because they were actually whispers about that kind of a thing. So I think this has been something that's been working itself to them. So they couldn't work out a buyout. So now they're saying, yo, just have a seat, man, and we're going to get you out of here. I think that the agent understood that this is what was going to happen. I think that this is what Drummond understood was going to happen. I think this is what the Cavs expected was going to happen. So I don't necessarily have a problem with it. So my comment towards what some other folks said was the Cavs are tanking the season. No, they're not. The Cavs aren't tanking the season. I think that the Cavs are doing their due diligence in terms of an organization. They have to protect any asset that they're trying to trade, so they don't want this dude to go out there and blow out an Achilles. Now you got to continue to pay this dude, and now you lose because nobody's going to trade for him, and he still leaves at the end of the year. You know what I mean? So That's my thought process from that one-dimensional angle. So from that one-dimensional angle, Sean, from the one-dimensional angle of the organization, tell me that you see something different, or did I miss something, or do you feel different?
The thing that's weird about this situation is when I heard it on the radio, like during the little, what they call it, the 2020 breaks or whatever.
Right.
And they're talking about Andre Drummond was going, because normally you sit a guy, once you have the trade in place, it was like, okay, this guy's not going to play tonight because he's about to get traded and you don't want to have him get hurt. Or the deal has already actually been done and they wait for the NBA approval. So, whatever. But they said that they said that he's going to sit until they can trade him until the trade deadline, which is a month from now.
It's a month from now.
That's the part that really caught my ear. I'm like, wait a minute, you gonna have this guy sit a whole month?
Now, again, I don't want you to give me that from a fan or from an analyst standpoint. I want you to give me the viewpoint from the vantage point from the organization. So what do you think? What do you think the organization is thinking and in that moment? Like, seriously, what do you think they're thinking?
So to me, that sounds like it's something else going on. Like maybe there's an issue because you're hearing stuff now that come out that, JB Bickerstaff had to, get on Andre about his work ethic during the game, that he's been dogging a little bit. So, go ahead.
No, I'm listening to you, and I'm like,
so basically, what it says to me is like, okay, we're going to trade you, but we're going to go. So since you're no longer in our long-term plans, we're going to go ahead and play the guys that we feel they're going to be here. So now, because we want Jared Allen to be the starter anyway. So this will, because that's a long. To sit a guy for a whole month and you're paying him $30 million. That's a long time, especially what if you end up not dealing at the end of the day? That's why I'm saying. So to sit a guy for a whole month, that just didn't sound right to me. Because Detroit is doing the same thing with Blake Griffin, and I'm sure knowing Blake Griffin,
but Blake is in on it too. And this is what I'm. This is now. I'm kind of playing devil's advocate. But I'm trying to juxtapose myself as the general manager, as the president, as the owner, for what we're trying to do from the Cavs standpoint, not necessarily looking at it from the fan or the player standpoint.
Right.
So I'm kind of being an asshole right now, and I'm saying that out loud so that you don't be like, man, what you talking about? I want you to understand. That's where my angle is coming from, right in this particular moment. So, as the team, that's why I said I think they had a discussion. I think they've had a discussion because when you talk potential buyout, you can't tell me that you talk potential buyout and you didn't think that this might happen next. I just didn't think that they found a figure to buy him out. So, and that's a lot of money, by the way.
It is.
To try to find a position to buy a guy out. That's a lot of money. And I said that. Again, this is not the first time that Sean and I have had this discussion. We talked about it when it happened. We thought it was a no-brainer being Andre Drummond. We thought this was a no-brainer. When are you going to get $28 million again? For no reason. You better opt in. Right. I would. So that made us both know, because we know how the NBA works, we knew that there would be a trade or a buyout. And when Sean brought up buyout, I believe, when Sean brought up buyout, I said, that's a lot of money to buy a dude out, bro. That's a lot of money to buy. We talking about 28. I think it's 28.7.
Right.
That's a lot of dough to buy. What's the middle ground on that? That's a lot of upfront dough. I didn't think that the buyout was going to happen. I didn't.
Right. I didn't think so either.
I'm not saying
you want to get something back. You want to get some type of asset.
Yeah.
Back in return. Now, the thing that's just still weird to me, though, it's like normally when this stuff happens, there's a trade in place, something about to go down. No, I haven't heard anything. Only thing I heard was that Toronto was the potential team that he was going to get dealt to, but I haven't heard anything since then. No rumors, no rumblings,
but here's the thing.
Or anything.
No, you go ahead, keep talking, because I'm about to look this.
Yeah, so I think it's more so because I could watching some of the games, I would look at Andre Drummond's face and I could kind of see a frustration in his face, especially during crunch time. Because a lot of times down the stretch, for whatever reason, he was taken out of the game. And I think that was so Colin and Garland and the smaller guys could have more room to operate.
Yeah.
And you would have like Jared Allen in there down the stretch for your defender and your rebounding. And I could see Andre Drummond getting a little bit frustrated. And then I'm hearing the stuff about with him and Bickerstaff, not necessarily getting into it or nothing crazy, but JB calling him out a little bit as far as
they're just not seeing eye to eye.
Yeah, not eye to eye on some stuff. So I think, like you were saying, it was kind of thing like, hey, you know what? At this point in time, just have a seat. And you're still getting paid, and just chill out. Now, here's something else too that's kind of just a little bit off topic.
Okay.
I think Kevin Love is in the same boat.
Oh, for sure.
It's a little bit different.
Sure.
Kevin Love isn't hurt anymore.
Listen, we're gonna get to Kevin Love in a second. I'm super glad you brought that up. But I think you're a spot. Listen, this is again a disclaimer. It's one of the reasons why I had this dude on my show. Because he has the adept insight to bring up stuff that we just had a production meeting and I ain't even bring this up in the production meeting, but he did. That's the foresight that I be talking about that you gotta have to have a show. Thank you, Sean. I appreciate
Kevin Love ain't hurt, so he's having a seat too. They're trying to see if they can find a trade partner for him.
Again, you're talking about another 30,000. You're talking about another $30 million dude. Another dude that's making a ton of money. And I'm not 100% sure that it works for what the Cavs are attempting to do, whether they're going to be successful with it or not. You do have to have cap space. And I don't know what cap space you're going to have with those two heavy. That's one reason that Tristan ain't back. They would have brought Tristan back.
Actually, once Drummond goes, they actually will have quite a bit, even when Kevin Love's on.
They'll have a ton of it.
Yeah, because he dumped a lot of salary. Yeah, they dumped a lot of salary over the last year.
But think about how much would be more, or how much more will be opened up if you get rid of Love, if you can, too, for the right price. Exactly. Because you do still have assets. Because listen to me, Kevin Love can still play basketball. He's still a 6'10" dude who can play. He just ain't playing that well for us. If he goes to the right situation, if that dude goes to Brooklyn, or if that dude goes to LA, it changes the dynamic. It's not a bad move for either one of those teams.
Exactly. But now, what Draymond Green said, I'm not sure if you guys heard. Draymond was like, it's a double standard where, if a player asks to be traded, he's demonized, he's called all kinds of names and stuff like that. But on the flip side, a team can just tell a healthy guy now that you're going to sit and we can trade you to whoever we want to trade you to. And I think he actually had an excellent point with that in a sense where, because like here's my thing. This is my opinion on everything. Like, and I'll use James Harden as an example. I'll use him and Anthony Davis. I don't have a problem with the guy asking out and wanting to go somewhere else. That's his right as a free man, as a grown man, to want to go play somewhere else. Now, basketball is different with professional sports in general because you're under contract. That means that your livelihood most of the times under the control of management of that team as far as where you go. Right. But if a guy, this situation is not working, he's been there for a while, for whatever reason, he wants to go elsewhere, that's fine. And I don't have a problem with that. The only problem I have when these guys do this is now the precedent is, okay, I asked to be traded. They're not moving fast enough for me. So now either I'm going to dog it on the court or cause a disruption in the locker room and make it so uncomfortable that they have to move me. Now, that to me, I don't like because that's unprofessional. You're making 14, 15, $30 million a year. Now, that doesn't mean that you're not human and you don't have emotions and stuff like that. But still, you still owe it to your teammates that when they put you out there on the floor to go out there and give it, your 100, 10%. Because you got other guys out there that has a lot that may not be making as much money as you, but they're trying to get to your point and maybe need your
money matters too. Their money matters too.
Exactly. So that's the only issue I have with that. But other than that, but wanting to go somewhere, even the way LeBron does, at least he does it perfectly. LeBron just says, I'm gonna put myself in a position contractually that I'm gonna honor my contract. But then once it's up, now I can make a decision what I want to do. And I'm all for more player empowerment. That when you're starting to see it a little bit more, I just want it to be done with some type of ethics and do it the right way. Now, some people may come and say, well, the team isn't being ethical, and that's Draymond's point. And I actually agree with that too. I think both parties need to come to some type of conclusion where middle ground. It gotta be middle. Yes, what I meant, like some type of middle ground.
Yeah.
When it comes to stuff like that.
I knew where you were going, bro.
Right.
I agree. I actually agree, probably nearly 100% with everything you just said. And I first of all, I can't believe that I'm agreeing with Draymond Green about any damn thing. But he's absolutely correct. I think that there is a double standard when a team wants to trade you. It's okay to sit you. But when this dude wants to be traded, there is a vilification of the dude. Let's be honest. Now all of a sudden he sucks. Or now all of a sudden he's turning on the franchise that quote unquote made him. I've heard that about Kobe. Kobe wanted to leave. He actually asked the Lakers to be traded. People forget that.
He did. He almost ended up in Chicago.
People were mad at Kobe for wanting to be traded. Of course,
and I think as fans take it personal. Fans take it as,
of course we do,
as a rejection of them and of the city. Like, oh, you don't want to be here, but the thing we don't see the
business part of it.
Yeah, we don't see the business part of what's going on behind closed doors.
Right.
Also, they always blame. I talked about this before when they draft a young kid in any sport. They always blame the player when he doesn't pan out. They never blame the organization.
Oh no,
for not possibly developing the kid, the right way. All we see is what's on the floor. All we see is what's on TV. Kind of like the finished product. We don't see what's going on behind the scenes. And there are a lot of we tend to think because these are billion-dollar organizations that they're all run with.
Right.
And they're not. We know that firsthand dealing with the Browns all these years.
Yeah.
That a lot of places that are dysfunctional. And if you're a player and you get sent somewhere, so you get traded somewhere and you're under contract for 3-4 years, you're in this bad situation. Now, yeah, you're making millions of dollars, but if you're the type of guy that wants to win,
it don't change none of the fact that you're in a bad-ass situation.
Right.
And you know what? And I will give Sean this level of credit because some years ago we drafted this kid, and I gave this guy the blues, and I gave him the blues after he was gone, and I never gave room or understanding that, man, it's a lot going on. Sean was one of the only people who stood up to me, because sometimes I guess I can be a little bit overbearing. I don't know about any of that, but Sean was the only person that stood up to me and said to me, nah, man, you can't say that. I'm talking about Tim Couch. Sean thought Tim Couch, now he's not going to say Tim Couch was great, but he thought Tim Couch just kind of got a raw deal. Sean was one of the first people that said that to me. Anybody I had ever talked to thought Tim Couch stunk. I thought Tim Couch stunk. Sean was like, well, you got to think, man, he was in a bad situation. He had a bad offensive line, which I knew that too. I knew that was bad to begin with. But you the one drafted him, so he need to be good then, right? He need to be able to run and move and understand this offensive line sucks.
Bad coach.
He had an awful coach. And listen, let me rephrase that. I don't know that he had an awful coach. I think his coach was dependent upon the folks that were in front of him. They didn't get him what he needed to be the coach either.
That's fair.
I'm just, like if I got to look back at the whole thing and call it what it was, but you're absolutely correct on your whole projection of everything, bro. Nobody says what I just said and what you said to me. Some of this ain't just on the people that's there. We can blame Chris Palmer and we can blame Tim Couch. But this ain't all on Tim Couch, Chris Palmer, or Butch Davis. A lot of this is on Carmen Policy. What's my guy name? Dwight Clark. That whole Al Lerner even. Al Lerner, he wasn't no football dude. He was just a business guy.
Right.
It's sort of like the business that I was in. When you have, and I used to meet these CEOs who were, let's say, guys who opened up a pencil factory, but you made $1 million opening up a pencil factory. Now you want to go into a whole nother industry, but because you run a pencil factory, you want to tell me that I don't know what I'm talking about in this industry. Dude, you run a goddamn pencil factory. You don't know about this.
Right.
And that's kind of what we saw because Al Lerner ran, what's that?
MBNA.
MBNA. I always call it LBC. MBNA out there in Beechwood. He ran MBNA, a credit card company. He was a financer. He wasn't a football guy. He didn't know. So he hired football people to run that play. And now let's not act like Al Lerner didn't know nothing about football totally, because he also helped move the Browns out of Cleveland.
Which in my mind, I think is why we had bad karma from the beginning.
But
he bought the team. But that's another story.
That's a whole nother story.
Day.
We ain't gonna, look, that's why I kept saying but the whole time. We're not about to get into that because we'll be talking about that by itself for the rest of the evening. So where I'm going with this is Sean is absolutely correct. We don't give the teams from the owner to the general manager to the president, possibly, whoever are the intermediaries from the owner all the way down to the coach. We always blame coaches and we always blame quarterbacks. We don't always blame what happened above them. Only time we gave that one caveat was with what's the defensive coordinator that just got fired by the Green Bay?
Oh, Mike Pettin.
Pettin. That was the only one caveat we gave to him, is that he was in such a toxic situation. That wasn't his fault per se. And that's just talking about the Browns. We're still talking about the Cavs. There's still a lot of people that are angry with Dan Gilbert for him putting out that tweet against LeBron. Even though LeBron came back, there are still people angry at him for that. You can't tell me that doesn't play against what the team is trying to do. And it does. So now you got Andre leaving. There's no way we're going to get, and this is why the Cavs are trading this guy, and this is why this is smart on the Cavs' part. Ain't nobody coming here to play for Dan Gilbert because of some of that stuff. So you have to move this guy. I tried to tell one of my guys that. They was like, man, the Cavs tanking the season. No, they're not. The Cavs ain't tanking shit. But the Cavs don't have no options in this particular situation. They have to move this guy to get more.
And then once again, man, this is people who are delusional. And we talked about this, and this is probably gonna move into our next topic too. What do we say on the show before our Super Bowl show? Was that the Cavs about to move into a very tough phase of the schedule in February, and that it was going to get real ugly and it was going to be bloody. And what has happened? The Cavs have been bludgeoned to death. They lost like 8 games in a row.
Wait, did you just say bludgeoned?
They have been. They've been bludgeoned to death. It's been hard to watch. They got their ass kicked. They got their ass kicked all up and down this West Coast road trip. Yeah. And I told you, because the Cavaliers are not that good of a team. That roster is built funny.
Not good, and they're not. They don't have any length. They don't have any length. We've talked about that, which is why we thought adding, Jared Allen, Prince, and all those guys, having some length helps us, but it also hurts us because now you got this piece that you knew you weren't going to keep to begin with.
Yeah, they're just not good. And the thing is too, so we have fool's gold. So when the Cavaliers beat Brooklyn back-to-back and Colin Sexton had those good games, what it did was it put Colin Sexton on notice. It was like, oh, because nobody was checking for the Cavs. Nobody was paying the Cavaliers no attention. Now this dude all over Sports Center.
Well, y'all start talking about this dude averaging 20 points. Well, guess what happened?
Now we're paying attention to him. So now when you force the ball out of Colin Sexton's hands, who's the other scorer? Who else can get a bucket on their own on that team? Absolutely nobody. Nobody. So yes, the Cavs play hard. They play a little bit better defense, but when you go up against these upper echelon teams, you don't have the horses to compete. So yeah, when we play the Knicks and when we play
Chicago,
bad team, we play Detroit, we play Chicago,
Detroit, those teams that you can got, Memphis, those teams that you might be able to go back and forth with. But when you start to play the Golden States,
the Bucks, the Clippers, Lakers,
you're gonna get your ass blown out. Now, having said that, tell me this, bro. And this is about the Cavs. It's going back to the Cavs.
Mm-hmm.
You think the team is not responding or quitting on Bickerstaff? And I'm only now listen to me again. I don't want you to think I'm being an asshole. I want you to understand I'm asking this in a vacuum because of where the team is going right now. Now, I know what me and you have talked about, but I want you to reiterate because I already know where you're getting ready to go. I just need you to reiterate what we've talked about, because I keep hearing that the team is tanking on this dude. I don't think so. I just think we're not equipped.
Exactly. They're just bad. Like, once again, Cleveland, we love mediocre players. We think that because because we watch them every day, we can see some of the talent that they have. And we're like, well, we got talent just like so-and-so has talent. And we elevate our guys on a higher pedestal than we should.
Yeah.
No, like Colin Sexton is not. Here's something else for people.
Colin is good. I don't know about Garland, but Colin, that might be the truth.
He is, but here's my thing. So people have to understand, and this is the problem with the Sports Center generation and everything, man. Like because Colin Sexton can average 20 to 24 points a night, it's a different type of 24. Like, it's hard for in the NBA, it's hard for your main scorer to be the little guy, the point guard, and you have success. That does not work in the NBA at all. I'll give you a classic example. Dame Lillard, one of my favorite players. Yep. I love his attitude. Killer. Yep. But you know what? He's your lead guard and your leading scorer, and Portland would never win that way. I've been telling people that, and people say I'm crazy. It's like, well, yes, you can. They got him and CJ. I was like, no, bro. When it comes down to crunch time and late in the games, they always take those two guys away, and they don't have anybody else of size or length on Portland that can go get a bucket consistently. And now
That's
you
when
got
they
Dame
want
out
to.
there
When they
shooting.
want to. Because the only
Right.
person that can get a bucket when they want to is Dame.
Right. And you
I
can, with the little guy, you can put, and it's not even so much taking them away. You can lean on them, bump them, push them, hit them, and they're going to wear down towards the end of the game. It's just a part of basketball.
You 1,000%.
The closest, right? The closest little guy to get their team almost to a championship was Allen Iverson.
That's incorrect. Allen did almost get his team, but there's only been one little guy that won championships.
Who was that?
Isaiah Thomas.
No, but he wasn't necessarily the lead scorer, though.
Listen, who was the best player on that team?
No, but here's my thing.
No. Again, who was the best player on that team?
He was the best player, but he wasn't taking all the shots. You see what I'm saying?
Now, there you go.
That's what I'm saying.
Now I'm with you. Yep. Now I'm with you. Because you're absolutely 2,000% correct. It's really tough for a 5'10", and I don't care what nobody say. Isaiah Thomas wasn't much bigger than 5'11".
Right.
Ish. I met the dude and I looked him square in the eye. I'm 5'10". There's not many people. Allen Iverson is another one, which is why I give him all the props in the world. When you're a little guy and you can pull your team to that stage, it's incredible. But it ain't. Once we get done talking about those two guys, where else do we go with that conversation?
Yeah, and like Isaiah was a floor general. It wasn't like, so Isaiah is going to, he's going to set up the offense. He's going to distribute. So you have Dumars who can score. You have Vinnie Johnson come off the bench who can fill it up. And then you had a bunch of role players.
But you also know that Isaiah could give you 48 when he felt like
right. Because Isaiah really only averaged his career. He only averaged about 18 points a game.
But 18, he could give you 48 if you wanted to.
But yeah, when he needed to, he could do that. And that's what I'm saying. Like Iverson had to go out and put up 35, 40 every night to get Philly to where they had. And that's where I'm going. Dame Lillard has to go out there and score 30 every night to get Portland up there. And that's what I'm saying. You can't have that type of pressure on your lead guard in order to win the championship. Yeah, I got you.
I wasn't against you. I just was trying to drive that, because there would be people who would listen to this and say that you were saying there's no way Dame Lillard can win a championship, number one, or that little guys can't win championships, and that's nope. That's why I wrote that in the middle of what you were saying, to drive you to that point so that nobody can question what we're talking about. We're talking about guys that can lead a team without, like Dame can't score 45 a night and lead that team to a championship. Dame has to score. He has to be capable of scoring 45 a night, like Isaiah. But having guys on his team where he can only average about 20 and still hit those clutch shots and still pull his team when he needs to. But Nurkic needs to show up. CJ needs to show up, because CJ disappears too. Because there's no reason. Listen, both of those dudes can average 25. But when they get to certain parts of the playoffs, CJ don't average 25.
I'm going to tell you something else too. When people are going to disagree with me on this too, because people fall in love with Dame taking them 85-foot shots. Those are horrible shots. They're terrible. And because they go in 20% of the time.
You almost made me choke. Why do you do this? Why do you do this? I swear that you got, like, do you have life insurance on me? Every week, I start having a drink, and then you will say some goofy shit like that. And I swear that you trying to take me out now. I'm going to start watching, bro.
No, people, they fall in love with it. Oh, look, I was like, man, those are horrible shots. It'd be like 21 seconds left on the shot clock. This dude to come down and take a shot from half court. And but because it goes
down, bro. That's you being old school. That's you and me, by the way, not just you. That's you and me being old school, and that's what the game is now. Like,
And that's why they be losing.
Could you imagine if Steve Kerr or Mark Price, Craig Elo just crossed center court and took a shot?
Yeah.
Man, Coach Lene would have had that dude buried so deep on the bench it wouldn't even be cute.
There were a couple of old school guys that used to do that, but they never won nothing.
But that wasn't the norm. So you had a couple guys. Now tell me this. Those couple guys, and I already know who those guys are because I've talked about those guys. You had a couple guys who did that. Out of those couple guys, how many of them got championships? Or
not one.
See? Which is why when people give Chuck issues, when Charles Barkley say, you can't do that shooting that many threes, that's where he came from. That's where he played with Chuck Persons. Chuck Persons was that guy. Chuck Persons was coming in the game. Cold coming in the game. And he would hit some of those. Like you say, maybe 1 out of 4. That's 20%. But he hit one. So see that again.
And I look at the game a little differently. I don't look at the ones he made. I look at the ones he missed and when he missed it.
That's what
at what point in the game.
Thank you. And that's what matters. Chuck Person, and this is why I don't get when people tell me that Steph Curry is the greatest shooter that's ever lived. I'm like, I don't believe that. I just don't. The game was played differently. The game was different.
Yeah. Now, where I will give Steph credit is that Steph hits those at a high percentage.
Listen, I already understand that part. At that part, I can't argue. However, how do we know that if you gave Chuck Persons that same shot, and I'm not saying Chuck Persons is equal.
Like no hands, like the defenses play differently. Yeah, I get it.
To be completely and totally different. Like really going to where I really want to go. You're trying to tell me Larry Bird couldn't hit some of them shots?
Right.
You're really trying to tell me that? I don't believe that. I believe Larry Bird hit every one of them shots. I think that Reggie Miller hit every one of them shots.
Yeah, and like Reggie and Bird, they would take those type of shots every now and then. Like I said, it just wasn't the norm how it is now.
You have to understand that when these guys got into the NBA, that the 3-point shot only became a thing in like 82. So that wasn't a part of how the game was played. So to just suggest that this dude is so great because he does it. Listen, Dame Lillard hits those same shots.
Now, I will say this too, just to be fair. With the way the game is played now, you do have to have a team that, as a team, you have to hit about 35 to 40% of your threes to win. And you do have to do that. So I'm not criticizing Lillard for taking the threes.
No,
I'm criticizing him for where he's taking them from. And I know the time of the game. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying.
I know that you're not doing that. I get what you're saying. I'm just talking about on a whole nother plane. So I agree, homie. I think you and I, where we usually have some level of a debate, we're not debating on this. I think we understand what that whole play is, from shooting them threes to what Draymond said to Andre Drummond. We get it. I think,
ladies and gentlemen, the Cavs are not tanking. They're just bad.
The Cavs ain't tanking. Tell your cousin that. That's your cousin that I was talking about. I'm not saying no names. You know who your cousin is. He thought the Cavs were tanking. I'm like, nah, they just protecting their thing. I'm not saying that's the right thing to do, but I do understand what they're doing.
And what you may see, now that the Cavs are coming back home for 5 games against Atlanta and a couple other teams, they may run off 3 and 4 games in a row.
Because they can.
At home.
Because they can. Because you know what? Putting Jared Allen out there in the place of, I think that equates to what Drummond was going to do. Now, we probably would have won easier, but now you got to do a little bit of work. And, I get it. I understand it. But
and like they had some
like
injuries too. Like the Cavs can't afford to have any injuries at all. And like Larry Nance being hurt, Larry Nance Jr., who's like your glue guy.
Yeah.
When he's not in there, there's a notable difference in your defense. And he just does like all the little stuff, like keeping plays alive and stuff like that. And not having him in there hurts. And I hate that they're starting Darius Garland. And I keep telling people that that's not going to work. You can't have 2 5'10" guards in the backcourt and expect to do anything. Like Garland is nothing, but Garland is going to be a good bench player.
He's not a starter, bro.
He's not
a starter.
His game is ugly. His game is runners and floaters. And you're a little guy trying to shoot over these tall trees. Doing that, you're going to have some nice games, but it's not going to be consistent.
Darius Garland, you're not a Jedi.
No, and they turn the ball over a lot too. And somebody tell JaVale McGee to stop bringing the ball up the court and making dumb passes. Just stop it. You get the rebound, pass the ball,
bro.
Yes, exactly. That's why I get on JB. Nobody gets on him.
Yeah. Ain't nobody saying nothing to him, bro. So of course he's gonna bring it up. Ain't nobody saying, "Hey, man, hand the damn ball off."
People forget that JaVale McGee. See, when JaVale McGee went to Golden State and the Lakers, it kind of washed that goofball status off of him. And now that he's with a bad team, the goofball status is back. People forget that he was on Shaq and the Fool. Every day. Every day he was on Shaq and the Fool for doing something stupid.
Yeah.
And those teams, so when he was on the Lakers and Golden State, he was being held accountable. What'd you say?
I said even when he was on good teams, it was times when he would be on Shaq and the Fool because he would just deviate. He would deviate.
Right.
I mean, you didn't see it as often, but he still would deviate. Because when you ahead, when you play with Golden State and you're ahead by 30, that changes the dynamic in your head. So now you go out there and you do some goofy ass shit. And that's what he would do. He would go out there and be on Shaq and the Fool. But it wasn't as bad as when he was with the Lakers or with other teams to where you were like, man, what's wrong with this dude? It wasn't the same way. You just saw it. You saw it differently with Golden State, or you saw it differently, with the teams or with the Lakers, because he didn't do it as often. Now he's back to being himself because ain't nobody finna say nothing to him, and that's on JB. You got to rein that guy in. He shouldn't be bringing the ball up at all.
And he's on the last year of his contract too. So I wouldn't be surprised if they go ahead and ship him up out of here too.
So Darius Garland, apparently you need to connect with somebody from the Dagobah system so that you can get your Jedi pin or something. Because I don't. I've never been a Darius Garland fan. I haven't been. I'll deal with them, but I've not been a Darius.
See, if what happened to little guys setting up the offense? You know what I'm saying? Like I think if Darius Garland came in as a backup, as that point guard to set everything up and score occasionally, I think he'll be fine in that role. But he come in trying to score 25 points a night.
But when you draft a dude as a lottery pick, they're not trying to wait for this dude to figure his life out. They want him to pan out. And that's on the Cavs. Like, that's the Cavs' fault. Y'all drafted him. Y'all are the ones who drafted another 6'1-ish, 2-ish dude who was dressed like Mace Windu, who wasn't a damn Jedi, by the way. This dude ain't even a Jedi right now. That's why I say he need to go to the Dagobah system and go holler at my man Yoda just to figure out what he gonna do next, man. And you better hope that Ben Kenobi vouches for you in his ghost form. Because Luke Skywalker almost did without that. And he was cold. And Luke was cold. Excuse me, Mr. Dude dressed up like Mace Windu. You're not that dope. You're not Luke Skywalker. Luke Skywalker was dope, son. Go to the different system and figure your life out. If you're too small to be trying to beat us, you cannot start two dudes at 6'1", 6'2", and that's your backcourt. Not anymore. Now when you got guys that are 6'7", as a shooting guard now, you got shooting guards that are 6'7". What are these guys going to do against those guys?
Exactly. And that's why we said that Kevin Porter Jr. was the key to the Cavs rebuild. Yep. When he flamed out and we traded him, I said, that's it. The Cavs are about to go into the shitter, because now you don't have that to look forward to. And even Houston doesn't trust him. He's in the G League right now. He's in the G League balling. But now we need a guy, an athletic wing or two, somebody who can create their own shot consistently. We only got two guys kind of like that, and that's just Sexton and Garland. I like some of the other pieces. I think Okoro is going to be a very good defender. He just out there looking lost right now. He's kind of like, because he's guarding the best guy almost every night.
He's at that spot. He's at that spot. That tough spot in the season for one. And he's, had a lot of back-to-backs, and he's had a lot of games.
He's getting baptism by fire.
If you look at the games that we've accumulated based on the games that he's used to playing, he's already about 15 games past what he's used to playing in a year. Yeah. So
and the kid's only, 19, 18, 19?
Yeah.
I liked a little bit I've seen of Windler. He can't seem to stay healthy. I like him. And I like Colin. So the Cavs, I mean, they got some work to do, man. Our front office has a lot of work to do to get a better team out there. It's as simple as that.
They got to get bigger. I think they have to get longer. But I also think that they have to get, for the type of defense or the type of team that they're trying to put out there, they got to get longer and they have to get more athletic. They're not that athletic right now.
No.
And that's a part of it. So let's check out of the Cavs real quick. Transition to the Cleveland freaking Browns. It's easy to talk about the Browns. It's been easy to talk about the Browns for the first time in a long time, and we all understand why. We all understand, what we're talking about as well. Like, why are we talking about the Browns? Because for the first time in a long time, as you can see my T-shirt, I survived.
I'm just now noticing that shirt.
Playoff drought. We had an 18-year playoff drought here in Cleveland, and guess what? I didn't just survive it. I sat here, watched it, and lived through it as a season ticket holder, piggybacking on the homie and his uncles on his uncle on the playoff. On the season tickets.
Yeah, because you got many free tickets for me. Because after week 8, I was done.
Man, many is free tickets. That's what I mean. Like, I don't want to underplay nothing. We've been on road trips together, me and this dude, to go watch the Browns play. Like, we've seen it and done it all in terms of the Browns over the last 18 years. So here we are in one of the few times in our existence as Browns fans, in our existence as men, that the Browns are an attractive landing spot for people. It's weird. It's weird. We're still so jaded and still so weird that we're sloughing off guys. I don't want that guy. I don't need that.
Right.
I don't want to see that guy in none of my damn outfits or none of my uniform. Like, that's where we are. I mean, we are here. We're here. And people think that the Cleveland Browns are attractive. How? When? Where did this occur? Well, it started with, no matter what I say, no matter how I feel, it started with the hiring of Kevin Stefanski. It did. Kevin Stefanski brought stability to whatever is happening in Berea. Listen, I've been to Berea a million times. I've been past that building a million times. If I would have known better, maybe I would have brought some sage with me when I rode past it, just to, kind of ward off the nonsense that was happening in there. I didn't know that at the time. But apparently this dude came with a sage incense and made the stuff that was happening in that building kind of, I won't say go away, but it just, everything in the building started to make sense. And I put this on Kevin Stefanski because he's not just the head coach. He's literally the day-to-day guy. And I say that because I used to be the day-to-day guy. When you're the day-to-day guy, you have to be the face. You have to be the guy that generates everything that's occurring. So while I criticize this guy often about his play calling, mostly, I don't really criticize him for anything else. I criticize his play calling and some of the things that his philosophies that he believes in. Not all of them, but some of them, only some of them. But I have to give credit where credit is due. This guy brought stability to my favorite team. Not just my favorite football team, my favorite team on earth. And I have to doff my cap to him because of that. Here we are in one of our first off seasons since not just going to the playoffs, but going to the playoffs, winning the game, actually almost beating at the time the defending Super Bowl champions. So of course, as soon as the season was over with, everybody wants to add other people, other pieces, other things to the Cleveland Browns. I don't know that it all works. I don't know that it all matters. I really don't know. But at the time, this was one of the things that I kind of sloughed off. I didn't want J.J. Watt. I damn sure didn't want J.J. Watt at the cost of OBJ and another 4th or 5th round pick. Because let me tell you something. Where J.J. Watt is right now, I don't want to give up anything to get him.
And I agree. That's been my point too.
Nothing. I don't want to give up nothing to get him. Now, 3-4 years ago, if we could get J.J. Watt for a 5th round pick, 4th round pick, let's do it.
Man, look, man, I have a half bag of Doritos downstairs that I don't want to give to J.J. Watt at this particular point in time. That's how I feel about that. Everybody else. J.J. Watt this, J.J. Watt that. I got a bag, and it's just the original flavor too. It ain't even a spicy one.
It just said
I got a half-eaten bag of regular Doritos downstairs, and I'm not getting J.J.
Your
Watt
cereal's
right
from
now.
76. Is your cereal from 76? Where it just say Doritos, not regular flavor.
Right.
It ain't even a nacho flavor.
Yeah, the original flavored Doritos. And here's my thing, man. Now, J.J. Watt did play 16 games this past season.
He did.
He only had like 4 or 5 sacks. So
he did.
I don't get what the fact. I think it's just because of the name. And people thinking, man, if we can just get one more year out this guy.
Bro, that's all. That's it.
That's all it is. Like, somebody said something on radio the other day talking about, man, yeah, I'm not going to give J.J. Watt a lot of money. Just 2 years, $30 million. How much you mean just 2 years and $30 million?
That's a lot of damn money.
That's a lot of damn money.
That's a lot of damn money too, bro.
Right.
That's a lot of damn.
It's not my money. It's not my money. They can do whatever they want with it. But just me as a fan, to me, this would be a prove-it year for J.J. Watt. Now, if the Browns gave him like a 1-year deal at about $7 to $10 million, like a 1-year deal, like a prove-it year, and we don't give up anything else for him,
I'll even deal with 1 year, $12 million or something like that.
Yeah,
I'm cool with that.
I'm cool with that. And see, and go for it. Because therefore, at that point in time, you're not losing anything. And I'm fine with that. I just don't want to give up. And now that he got cut, it's not, you're going to give up an asset.
See, and that's where I was going. The dynamic is kind of changed. We don't have to give up necessarily a piece or a part to get him. And here's a little bit more in depth with where I was going with that. So JJ is looking for, of course, and I would be too. He's a tenured guy. He's a veteran. He wants a certain setup. He wants a certain kind of thing around where he goes. He don't want to just show up. He ain't just leaving to go to this team or that team. He ain't going to the Jags just to not be in Houston.
Right.
He's 33, or he'll be 33 once the season starts. I think he turns 33 in March, if I'm not mistaken. So he wants to be a part of a winner. He wants to be a part of an organization that looks good. Also, he wants to be a part of an organization that has the money to sign it. Well, I did some research today, and guess who is probably most prime for the teams that he is looking in terms of what he says he wants? Guess who's most prime for those? It would be us, because we got the most cap space. Number one, I think we got like $22 million of cap space going into this year. And we'll probably have more once we start to, release guys, or, I think we're going to lose Olivier's stuff. And then there's some guys that they probably ain't going to pick up when it comes down to roster bonuses going into the next season. So there'll be a few more dollars picked up on that thing. So he understands that part of it. So apparently he wants a certain amount of money. But in terms of the team being the type of team that he wants to come to with the upside, he won't have to play every single solitary down.
Right.
So it's a plus side for him. He doesn't have to, show up as much because he has a guy on the other side, and Myles Garrett, barring an injury. Again, looking at it in a vacuum, he got a guy on the other side that he don't have to worry about like that. So it makes it easier for him. J.J. Watt is a 33-year-old guy who's probably got like a 40-year-old body, maybe more, depending on which part of the body they lean at. He's not a young guy. I don't care what nobody says. Listen. Before those injuries, though, I think he had about 5 or 6 years where he played at least 16 to 15 games every year.
He had double-digit sacks. Yeah, he had a 5-year stretch where he was a monster. Like I said, he has over in his career, despite having the injuries, and of course he has over 100 sacks.
Yeah, he's a monster in terms of that.
Right, and I tell you what, man, I want to be wrong about him. I want to be wrong. I want him to come in and dominate. I just don't. Just from the outside looking in right now, I don't know how much gas he has in the tank. But if you can get him at a decent price, and let's say he comes in and gets 8 to 9 sacks, and just has to is the presence out there that you have to account for, then so be it.
That's why I'm fine with 11 to 12 million, because that's what we gave Olivier. And Olivier had 9 sacks.
That's a good point.
The only problem I have with Olivier was that he didn't do it in tandem. With Miles.
Yeah.
He didn't do it in tandem. Like, it wasn't like Miles got a sack and then the homie came around the edge and got a strip sack. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I'm looking for when I say I'm paying a dude $11 million, $12 million, $13 million, $15 million potentially. I don't want the Browns to pay $15 million for this dude for 2 years.
Right.
And he gives you a total of 20 sacks. While that sounds like a lot, it really ain't a lot for a guy that is J.J. Watt at $15 million. Because if this dude gets you 15 sacks, talking about Myles Garrett, Myles had 12 and a half sacks, and he missed 4 games.
Yep.
So that's nothing. We need you to get more than 15 sacks. That's what you're going to pay $15 million for. You need to have guys that are going to get there. J.J. Watt could be a great mentor. I don't know that Myles needs another mentor. I mean, he learned from one of the best ever in Bruce Smith. And I can see the difference in his game. You see the lean in his game. I mean, this dude.
Yeah. But he'll help. You know, he'll help in the locker room overall. He'll be a good guy in the locker room.
I just think he's an awesome guy in the locker room. I think he'll help everybody. So I agree with that.
And the more veterans you can have in there, the better.
$15 million worth though.
15? I don't know. No, like I said, to me, it's between 7 and 12. Now he ain't gonna take 7. I know that because somebody else gonna give him more than that. You know, so I guess to be realistic, I'm thinking like between 10 to 12 on the one.
10 will be the least he'll take. And a lot of it will be front loaded. If the Browns are smart, they'll front load the contract so they can get his money up front, get the dude on the team.
And maybe give him some incentives, incentive laden.
Right.
And do it that way. I'm sure somebody's gonna throw a lot of money at him. But that's where the Browns have to be smart, and where they have been smart under Andrew Berry. Okay, just because somebody else is doing, don't panic and don't overpay and overreach. For that guy.
I just think we have leverage because we have the cap space. So
right,
the money that he might want, especially the guaranteed money or the upfront money, we're more set up to do that because everybody else is kind of hamstrung.
Yeah, I'm excited to see because I think free agency starts next month. Yeah, so I'm excited to see what the Browns' thought process is, because that'll tell me a lot about where the focus of the team is in the direction.
There's a couple of other guys that I want to bring up before we get off the air, because we're getting ready to get off here in a minute. That I just was like, whoa, wait a minute, because I saw this come up and I said, wait, we could utilize that guy. Hold on a second. Let me talk about the top. Oh, that's NBA. My bad. My ridiculously heavy fingers are landing on stuff I didn't attempt to land on. So okay. So you got Dak, you have Chris Godwin as a free agent. He's probably gonna get re-signed.
Yeah.
You have Allen Robinson, who's probably gonna get re-signed by the
the Bears. People say the Bears ain't gonna re-sign Allen Robinson. Like, look, the Chicago Bears. The Chicago Bears are allergic to quarterbacks and good wide receivers. So no, they're not gonna sign Allen Robinson. He's gonna be somewhere else.
Listen. I'm not disagreeing with you, but I'm thinking to myself, how do you let this guy go? He's your best wide receiver.
Right. As a matter of fact, the Bears are allergic to anything explosive on offense. They'll spend money on defense all day. They'll get guys on defense. Khalil Mack of the world. That's
what's going to make them lose Khalil Mack when his deal is up.
Exactly. But when it comes to any type of explosive player on offense, they'll do some dumb shit like go get Jay Cutler and pay him a bunch of money. But other than that, they won't. So Allen Robinson would not be a Chicago Bear. Trust me when I say that. He will not be a Bear.
That's hilarious. He probably won't. Here I was trying to get him. And this is why I have Sean on the show, because he just brings me back to reality. They probably won't sign.
Man, when the last time the Chicago Bears had an explosive offense?
They haven't ever.
Never.
Ever. They've had explosive players.
Right.
But they haven't, like Willie Galt was an explosive player.
Of course,
Alshon was explosive.
Yeah.
But they didn't have a quarterback that could get him the ball on a regular basis.
Yeah, they had like Neil Anderson back in the day, who was a good back.
They had Neil Anderson. And, he was
a few good running backs there, but other than that,
they had some guys that could kind of break something off, but they just didn't have, like you said, a regular.
You would never mistake Chicago Bears offense for Dan Fouts and Air Coryell. You would never mistake them for having explosive offense.
I told my guy, I have a homeboy who's a Bears fan that I was in the Air Force with, and I said, man, when you have to consider that Dan Orlovsky is one of y'all better quarterbacks since McMahon, dog, that is awful. Dan Orlovsky might have been one of them. Dan Orlovsky and Mitchell Trubisky are one or two of your better quarterbacks since Jim McMahon.
What's his name had a good run with them too, a year. McCown.
Oh yeah,
he showed up.
You're right. I forgot about him, but you're right. Yeah.
But nothing consistent. And like the Browns and the Bears have kind of mirrored each other since the Browns have been back. They just couldn't find a quarterback.
And we had explosive players, but we just didn't know what the hell to do with them. Like, we just screwed them around or whatever.
Yeah.
But let me see.
Get off track. Who else is out there?
Let me see who's out here. Of course, did we mention Levante David ever on the show? Ever?
Oh no, I don't think we mentioned Levante David at all.
Not even once. Not even once.
Or Bud Dupree.
However,
Mr.
David, I don't know if you see this behind me. That's a great bridge that we have here, right over the Cuyahoga River. It's one of the most awesome places. Don't let those fires that happen on this river bother you. They haven't happened since I've been alive.
Right.
We're
it's
good.
catfish in the Cuyahoga River if you want to go fishing.
Fresh river catfish.
Man, it ain't one live species alive in that river at all. There's nothing lived in the Cuyahoga River.
People, listen to me. There will be some people who listen to this and think that possibly we hate Cleveland. We've just been in Cleveland long enough to understand the things that make Cleveland work and the things that make us kind of funny. We get it. We're just laughing at one of the things that makes Cleveland kind of funny. We had a river that is, you put fires out with what? Water. Well, we had water that was on fire. As my guy Jim Rome says, what do you put that out with? So, also, let's not forget, Ryan Fitzpatrick is available. So is Richard Sherman.
Man, Ryan Fitzpatrick is always available.
Always, every year. He's got about 37 jerseys with about 12 teams.
Right.
So Richard Sherman is available.
Yeah, we talked about him. Did we talk about?
We did talk about Rich.
I'll take Sherman on a 1-year deal. I
don't mind that.
Not for a lot of money.
But not for a lot of money. It's the same thing to me with J.J. Watt. You just can't do it. You can't do it for a lot of money. I'm against the whole.
You know what? I can see bringing in Sherman and have him play that role that Deion Sanders played that 1 year in Baltimore. When he comes in more as a mentor, as a locker room guy to stabilize that secondary. And I think Richard kind of wants to come here. So
I think he does too, because he understands.
And he played under Joe Woods.
Yeah, that's the thing. So I think that's why he wants to come and be a part of this. We also have Shaq Barrett. I don't think he's leaving Tampa though. But Shaq Barrett is available. William Jackson III is available. He's not awful. He's better than the cornerbacks and the reserve cornerbacks that we have. So I wouldn't be against.
Papa Smurf is better than the reserve cornerbacks that we had. Yeah, so anything would be an upgrade at this point in time.
Marcus Williams is available, the safety from New Orleans. I think he's decent. We still need a backup. If you're not going to sign, a couple of the guys that we have that are free agents who are under 1-year contracts, if you're not going to sign these guys.
You know what? And here's one thing we have to be careful of, too. Even though as bad as the defense was, I don't think you want to dismantle the whole thing by not bringing any of those guys back at all.
Listen,
you know what I'm saying?
with you. I'm with you. I think we need to bring Carl Joseph back, personally.
Yeah, you need to bring a few of those guys back who's been in the system.
Because he gets it.
And then just fill it in with a couple. Yeah.
So I think Carl Joseph should come back. This is another reason that I discussed bringing back B.J. Goodson. I think you need to have guys that get it and that understand it so that they can put it on the newer guys that come in. I think it's important to do that. So I'm thoroughly with you on that point, bro. I think that's important as hell. If you can pull that off, I'm with it. I don't think you need to dismantle. Now, there's some people that I need to be gone. I don't think I need to say specific names like Zendejo, but there's some guys that could easily be gone, and I'd be absolutely okay with it. But there's one specific guy. There's one guy, Carl Lawson. Again, you want to talk about edge linebackers or kind of up defensive ends. Carl Lawson can do that. I like Carl Lawson in terms of what he does. I hate him because he plays for Cincinnati. But Carl Lawson is available, and Cincinnati is known for not re-signing their people. So that could be the answer or the potential answer to what we want to do.
Mike Brown is definitely the Mr. Magoo of the NFL. He ain't paying nobody.
He ain't paying nobody.
He'll pay his quarterbacks. And he paid Andy Dalton and he paid Carson Palmer. But that's it. Like, he doesn't pay anybody else on that team.
Yannick Ngakoue is available this year as well. I think he might re-sign with Baltimore. I think they got the inside track on that, but we don't know.
Right.
So let's see. Let's see what happens with that. There was one more specific before we get the heck off of here. Xavier Woods, another safety. If we're not going to re-sign Carl Lawson, I like Xavier Woods. I thought
he's solid.
He was solid in terms of, of course, we already discussed Bud Dupree. I think Bud Dupree is beyond solid. And then there's Leonard Floyd, who's another outside edge guy who can blitz.
Yeah, he's definitely solid, real solid guy.
Very solid. So these are names that we're just like dropping out there for the Browns to just, hey man, you got to do your due diligence. You kicking tires on JJ Watts. You got to kick your tires on on Floyd too, on Leonard Floyd. You have to. You have to kick your tires. KJ Wright. I don't know that KJ Wright is the answer.
He's a little bit up there in age too, as a linebacker.
He is, but you got to listen. He's a solid tackle. That's the thing I like about. That's the thing I like about KJ. He's very disciplined, and you need disciplined guys, especially on like third downs and shit.
And I guess I can't be a hypocrite and say bring in Richard Sherman and not give KJ Wright a look. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, because he's a very, very, very capable linebacker.
To me, you got to bring in and think about everybody who could help whatever we do. I didn't know this. Right? I didn't know this, but I'm rolling through this thing right now. Matthew Judon from the Ravens is available as well.
And I remember I heard some whispers that Baltimore is not probably going to bring him back because the number might be a little too high. I did hear that.
The same thing. That's what I'm seeing right now, is that they don't think that they're going to bring him back. So you get a guy. Let me check some specs on this dude. He's only in his 5th year. So he's young. He really hasn't had a serious injury. He's pretty healthy. And guess what? He's very as a defensive line. I think that will work for what we're trying to do, man. And he's a good run stopper.
Yeah.
He's a solid tackler, good run stopper, and he's active. And you can move him into multiple spots. I've seen him in the middle. I've seen him on the edge. I've seen him at linebacker. He can drop back in coverage because that's how Baltimore utilizes guys.
Okay, right.
You have to give it some thought going forward. The one thing I consistently say about us is that we have to be more flexible. I understand that we want to be analytical, but we have to be flexible and think about what it's going to take to win, not just our division, but what it's going to take to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it's Super Bowl time now, baby. You know what I'm saying? Like
Listen,
the day.
Yeah. You can't
Days
small
are
ball
over
at
just
this
want to
point.
get into the playoffs or
Yeah,
just winning the division.
this ain't small
It's
balling no.
championship next time.
What did I say in our last when we lost game? While I blamed it on Dude, what did I tell you the reason I was so angry for? I saw a shot for us to make it to the fucking Super Bowl. I thought we could make it to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
We could have beat Kansas City, gotten to play the Bills. What did I say? That coaching staff with that quarterback, I'll bet on ours every day. And our running game, yeah, I got us.
Yeah.
We got it.
I agree.
We in. We at least got to the Super Bowl. So if we're legitimately a few play calls, legitimately with this awful defense, a few play calls from the Super Bowl, you can't mess this off season up. You can't mess this draft up. So the free agency and the draft have to be married like a sumbitch, because that can change the fortunes in terms of depth for this team, in terms of pushing us over the top for this team, and changing, while we already got the culture to win the Super Bowl and to be in a Super Bowl, who will get the culture to continue to be a part of Super Bowls. That can change everything. So this offseason is so important, which is why I keep talking about it, and which is why I'm so interested in it. And I think Sean is in the exact same boat.
Hey, well, when is the combine, man? Normally it would have been going on right now, but I know with COVID.
We're still early, bro. It's February.
That's when the combine is. The combine is always in February.
I thought it started at end of February, beginning of March. I thought it was like the last week, first week of March. Last week of February, first week of March. That's what I thought.
That could be it. Because I know free agency starts right after the combine is over.
After, yeah.
So but I always remember the combine being in February, like maybe mid to late February.
Let me take a look. While I'm on here. You know,
COVID. I already see like the quarterback rankings switching. You know, Justin Fields started before, and I knew that was going to
happen. They said Old Sunshine is hurt, and he might be getting some surgery or whatever.
He had surgery or he's going to have it tomorrow.
So he's going to be out for like the next 5 weeks. So you'll be able to tell how good people think he's going to be by where he gets drafted, even though he's hurt. Because that means that team is going to be pretty much, they're going to be without him for the season, at least the first part of the season.
I think it's almost given he's going to Jacksonville. God bless him.
What's today? Today is the 17th. Yeah, like I say, it's that's the 2020 one. When is the 2021? So last year's combine was February 23rd and March 2nd, which is what I thought. I thought it was last week into the first week of March. So I was right about that. Not trying to say that you were wrong, but that's what I thought. No.
I just knew it started sometime in February. I knew it was always sometime in February when it started. So
when are they starting this one? Hold on.
Maybe they're not having a combine.
2021 pro day schedules due to the pandemic. I'm sorry. I clicked on the wrong thing. That was the actual teams. When is the 2021 combine? Because apparently they're still having the draft as scheduled. So yeah, I can't. You know what? Everything that's coming up is from 2021, 2020.
It's possible that they cancel the combine, so
They may have for the COVID, but for all of you guys who are interested, there apparently is still going to be a draft in April. And if you're interested in coming to it, it shall be somewhere behind me, somewhere a little bit closer to that place.
I think in Mall C.
Yeah. So it'll be here in Cleveland. We will definitely be a part of somewhere along those lines, a part of that, and we will be broadcasting some pieces and parts of that live. We're gonna make sure that happens. I just put that on Sean. Sean's like, "Are we?"
Yeah, exactly. Already volunteered my time. I definitely want to.
I just threw that out there because
as long as it's not too crazy, you know what I'm saying? Like, because they haven't really even said how the setup is going to be yet, or how many people. And I guess the governor is probably like in a holding pattern before he decides on how he's going to let that happen.
Well, he's already released a few things, so let's see how that works. We still got about a month or so, 2 months,
right?
To figure out logistically how that's going to happen.
That would be cool, though, man. That would be dope if we could be down there and broadcast live. Although the Browns won't be picking until around like about 11:30.
Yeah.
That night. So
it'll be late as hell that night, but it'll be cool. For the first time in a long time, we ain't expecting the Browns to be in a lottery or, drafting in the first 18, 15 picks. It'll be dope to us.
Actually, what's the third year in a row we're not picking high?
Well, but we could have. All those 3 years, we could have. But within this last year, like now, we're not so pressed. Like if things weren't great this year, we would have been pressed to squeeze our way up top to get some better player potentially.
Right.
But for us to be able to sit back and feel like we're good or feel like, we don't necessarily need to do that is a plus. That's a plus for me, man. I don't need that level of stress.
Oh man, yeah, exactly.
I get crazy.
I'd much rather be in this position.
Yeah,
I worry about what quarterback we can draft and what coach we gonna hire, man.
Yeah. We ain't talking about the usual This is not the usual conversations for us, and that's awesome to me. That we could walk away from this podcast even, and not even we ain't had a conversation about the coach. Period. Really. Yeah. Let's be honest. I mean, I mentioned him. But we really haven't had a conversation like, who do we bring in or what do we need? We're like, oh no, the coaching staff is good, and the front office is good. Like we're talking about players in certain positions. People don't understand the value that we have right now, and just in that. So
now, one thing that will be coming up soon, and the Haslams are doing a good job of kind of keeping this on the low, is they're exploring stadium sites. I've seen some articles about that.
Yeah, I did see.
So City of Cleveland, that's coming. And that's not going to be a fun fight when it comes, because we don't like building new stadiums here.
I didn't want to.
It's coming.
I didn't want to put that on the Facebook page until it became a little more concrete, or on the IG page until it became a little. But I saw it and I started to, but I took it. I was like, nah, we're not going to do that yet.
Yeah.
Because it's not, they're just exploring right now. So exploratory visits, when you got a lot of money, tends to mean this is what's getting ready to happen, but it doesn't mean that it's getting ready to happen soon. But you can't be upset. The good part is they're actually looking around Cleveland. They're not looking, like saying Tennessee or so far. But that's why I didn't want to put that up. I didn't want to be the guy that freaked everybody out. So I just kind of let that sit. But I think I don't think that'll be a bad thing because I think that the stadium where it is logistically one of the worst places in the
Yeah,
city.
it's just dumb. Yeah, it's
A
dumb.
tough
It's
place
been
to get
dumb.
to. It's a hell of a place to get out of, but it'll probably screw everybody who has kind of carte blanche right now, like West 9th, West 6th, et cetera, East 4th, all those places that kind of just pour right into where the stadium is. It kind of sucks for them.
But you know what, though? Here's the thing. Once things get back to normal, right? If the Browns are competitive,
it ain't gonna matter.
It ain't gonna matter. All those places are still gonna jump,
but people
because some all it's gonna do is just spread it out. You know what I'm saying? Because right now the Barley House and stuff like that down there, it'd be too crowded up in there, and you can't even move.
They do
on Sunday. So they kind of just maybe just kind of spread that out a little bit, but and you're still gonna have people down there.
You're when it comes to me and you preaching to the choir, bro. I'm with you. They're gonna go wherever the hell the Browns go. Wherever the Browns go, they're gonna go. They're gonna figure out parking. They're gonna figure out tailgating. They're gonna figure it out because that's the cash. That's the cash cow right there. So they're gonna figure it out. I'm with you. They can move. I don't want them to move it out of downtown, but they can move it wherever they want, and people are gonna come. If you build it, they will come.
Yeah. Now what would kill downtown? Those businesses, if they did move the Browns out of downtown.
Yeah. I don't think they need to move it out of downtown.
Yeah, but either way, no matter where you put that stadium downtown, all the businesses on East
it's still gonna win. It's a win-win.
It's still gonna be all right.
Here's where I think they're gonna end up moving it because that space is still open. That same space that they talked about moving when Art Modell was the owner. I think they're gonna move it right outside, adjacent to the Gun and adjacent to the Jake, across
on the other side of the bridge, 90.
Across the 90. Yep. Because that's the most open
like
space.
that Broadway Orange.
Yep. Right where Broadway and Orange and Huron kind of come together. Right there. The way you go down into the flats to get to the Cavs Stadium, you wanted to park in the back. Yep. Yeah. I think that's where it's going to end up being because it's the most open space. Ain't nothing there. There's probably no contention in terms of the city saying no or yes. It's very open, so they'll be looking to fill that space up. The bigger question will be what would they do with the current stadium being where it's at? Will they shove it into the lake like they did the old stadium and make it breakwater type situations, or
the lakefront needs to be developed anyway, man. They need to at some point start developing that, putting some condos and shopping and all that stuff down there.
To me, Cleveland is the worst developed city on the planet. We got this old school mentality where everything needs to just be like it was. And I'm against that. I think we need to, be more current, move into move into the 20th century.
Now, tell me if I'm wrong. Tell me if I'm wrong on this. This is my impression of Cleveland. And when I still do a little Uber and a little Lyft on the weekends. And I get, when you're getting passengers coming in from out of town, picking up from the airport, we always have a discussion because people, for some reason, Cleveland is like an enigma in most parts of the country until they come here. So when people come here, they always ask a lot of questions. And one of the problems I see with Cleveland is that everybody that lives here is from here. And people tend not to like change. So when you do changes, you kind of have to sneak it in on people gradually. So they don't even notice it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Am I kind of right on that?
No, I think you're spot on. And that's kind of where I was going. We like the old guard. We love the way things were. We love how things used to be. We don't like the way things are getting ready to go. So,
like even with the Opportunity Corridor project, a lot of people are upset because it displaced some homeowners. And my thing is, with progress and the city trying to grow, it's all like growth is always in life, period. Growth is painful. Everybody's not going to like what's happening, but I do think like that project is needed because there is no, like on the southeast side of Cleveland, there is no highway access or nothing.
Well,
And if Cleveland Clinic is going to be your biggest draw in University Circle, it's no easy way to get there off the highway.
I don't disagree.
But I do understand the other part, like if you're lowballing homeowners and stuff like that, or forcing people off. I get that part. So it's a catch-22.
It's a catch-22
when it comes to development. Yeah, it is.
You can't win for losing, and you can't always lose for winning. But if you try to be fair, and I think that the city and these private entities haven't always been fair, because you still do displace people. Now, why can't you run that through Cleveland Heights? But you're gonna do it through low-income folks that live in Cleveland. That's where the problem, because it's almost like you're still disenfranchising. You're still moving.
You're right. Now, back in the day, it was supposed to be a highway that ran through Cleveland Heights, so it was supposed to be.
They took that shit down.
It was Shaker that
Shaker
pretty much blocked like in the 50s or something like that. Yeah, they killed it.
Shaker killed it, but they have the cachet, they got the money, they have the skin color to talk that down.
Right.
Now, when they came into Cleveland, who listening to the people who live on any of these?
Yeah, I've talked to a few people that live, and they were saying, they're like, some people got decent offers. Some people didn't, some people refused to move, and I guess they had to kind of move around. I don't know if eminent domain had taken place.
And I was going to say that's exactly when the eminent domain came into play.
Because I was wondering how they were going to do it. I was like, man, so you come off 490 at 55th. I was like, well, how in the hell are they going to get from here, like all the way over to University Circle?
They just redid all of that. Like, we used to live over there, so they just redid Broadway. Yeah. We were getting ready to buy a house right off of Broadway back in the day, but it was in the middle of nowhere. It was like us and LTV, which was closed.
Right.
We would have bought that house. Now that house, I looked it up the other day. That house we would have bought for about $40,000. Now that house, which ain't nothing happened to it. Like, it's been no levels of updates, but that house now is worth like $115.
Oh, wow.
So I remember when they were doing the work around there, I kept saying to myself, something coming. It's something coming. They're not doing work on these streets, and they're not doing work on these highways for nothing. There has to be money involved. They're never going to change nothing if it ain't money involved around.
Yeah. So one thing about Cleveland, because this is happening nationally, where you're having all of this extreme gentrification going on in larger cities. Because for one thing, people with money and people in business, what they do understand, your country is only as strong and your business is only as strong as the core of your inner cities are.
Yeah.
So of course, you went through the whole phase of white flight. Everything was pretty much decimated. A lot of the inner city, especially in the Rust Belt, here in Cleveland, Detroit, Pittsburgh, Buffalo, those areas. But that infrastructure is still here. So, of course, they're trying to get people to move back into, the core of the city. And, when that's going to happen, it's going to displace a lot of people. Property values are going to go up, and things of that nature. And that's where the catch-22 is, because you want your city to improve, you want it to look nicer, you want nicer neighborhoods, you want safer neighborhoods, but that's going to come at a cost, which leaves a lot of the lower income people in the dark. And Cleveland always being late to the party is just now starting to happen here. They did it over in Tremont. So that was like the first phase of it. They did a little bit over like in the Waterloo area, not a whole lot, but a little bit over there. And as I drive around the city, I'm starting to see, pockets on the east side starting to, lean that way too. I'm starting to see people out walking their dogs in neighborhoods that you would never have caught people dead walking at certain times of the day. So it's going to be interesting to see how the city moves, in the coming years.
See, the crazy part is you always know, like you say, you always know when things have changed in the city when you start seeing people walking dogs where you didn't used to see people walking dogs. So I remember when Tremont was not called Tremont. I remember when Tremont was the West 7th Project.
Yep.
And it was, listen, you did not want to get off at that damn exit and be a part of that project area. Now, it's one of the nicest areas. I go to Tremont all the goddamn time. And I used to live, just about a mile or so, maybe 2 miles. Oops, I didn't mean to bump the table. But maybe 2 miles away from Tremont at any given time when I lived on the other side of the city. So I spent a lot of time there, and people used to be like, oh, I thought this was a nice area, but people keep breaking into cars. I'm like, yeah, y'all just displaced the people that used to live here. People used to break into more than just your damn car. Like they break into your car and steal whatever's inside your car and keep it moving. You still got your car? Like in my mind, I'm like, you lucked out. Because used to be a time they steal your whole damn car.
Mm-hmm.
Used to be a time that they might shoot you while you in your car. But those are the changes, like you say, when you deal in gentrification and you deal in rectifying certain parts of your city, because you do need that revenue in the heart of your city in order to support the Browns, the Cavs.
Yeah. And here's one thing too that people have to understand. Look, a lot of people, when it comes to cleaning up neighborhoods and stuff like that, people think, well, why don't they just do it, out of the kindness of their heart? So people that's already living there, like, why don't they just clean it up for the residents that live there? And I said, this world, unfortunately, it runs on money. They're not going to just do it like a private developer is not going to come in and just say, hey, I'm going to clean up this neighborhood and keep it low income for the people already here. No, they're trying to make a profit off of it. And I'm under no illusions when it comes to that. It's all, at the end of the day,
you can't be.
It's all about that green, and that's where the catch-22 comes in. So like I said, you want your neighborhood cleaned up, you want things to be a little bit better, but it's going to come at a price. They're not going to do it for people. Look at Chicago, all them people in Robert Taylor homes and Pretty Green, they tore those down, shipped all those people out to the west side. They ain't care about those people that was there.
No,
but
they didn't care about the west side folks.
That neighborhood, that area is safer. You know what I'm saying?
That particular neighborhood is, but not the place where them dudes went.
No,
because I say the same thing for down on 36. Yeah, you tore all those projects down. 36 between 34th and 38th, between where community college is and 40 where my church is at.
Yeah,
you tore all those things down. That was Longwood back in the day.
Yeah,
I just call it Longwood Heights because all you did was remove those people and move those people right back in there. So they got a newer place to live in, but they still the same folks. So what's different? You can paint a piece of shit, but at the end of the day, it's still a piece of shit. You can't change that. You have to change what goes in there. And like, I don't see that the same way that I see what happened on East 4th. East 4th changed. So they're not policing over there by my church. Trust me, they're not. The policing hasn't changed. However, you go down to 30th, all that stuff they're doing down there, the policing has changed down there.
Yes.
The policing has changed over there on Cedar by 105 where you got Cleveland Clinic. The policing has changed on East 4th. Again, we remember when East 4th, man, you could do whatever the hell you wanted to down there on East 4th back then.
Right.
All now,
weird,
you can't do shit.
Weird shops
you can't even drive
down there. Yeah.
So These are the things that you start to see when you start to privatize. And I get after people a little bit about that when they talk about, when they go into socialism this and socialism that. I'm like, listen, these private folks are telling you need to pay for these buildings and then pay for tickets to get into these buildings. That's the core of socialism. So you can't stray away from one of those things. You got to be either for it or against it. You can't play on both sides of the fence. You can't, when a billionaire who could pay for this building to be built asks you for the money and then tells you got to pay to get inside the building too.
Yeah, because you know why? Because billionaires or even millionaires to that point, they don't like using their own money. The key is to not use your own money for that. So I'm gonna use your money. That's why businesses go public, get investors.
Oh, that's why. Yeah, for
you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm gonna use your money and gamble, and hopefully using your money to help build up my business, and therefore now I can give you a return. If I used your money right, now I can return you, give you back something for your investment. Yeah, rich folks.
What you
I always wonder, man, and not to get too far, because I know we got to end this, but like when the whole housing market stuff crashed back in 2008, and then you had these companies saying they couldn't meet payroll because the banks couldn't. I was like, wait a minute, because in my mind, because I wasn't savvy, still not savvy when it comes to economics at all. I'm not going to pretend like I know, but I was like, well, if like Progressive is making, just using them as an example, is making XYZ in profits every year, why can't they just use the money from their profits to pay the employees? I had no idea that these companies were basically taking out loans. You know what I'm saying? Once again, not using their own money to do. So I had no idea how all that was intertwined at the time.
You don't understand it, and I didn't know that kind of stuff either. But as you start to kind of climb those, I won't say corporate ladder, so to speak, but when you start to be in positions, because I ran a business that was a multi-million-dollar business. I wasn't like the CEO, but I was in charge of the day-to-day stuff. Mm-hmm. You don't understand how those things kind of similar to what you were saying. You don't understand how those things play out in your day-to-day stuff. Just like, man, I got to make sure guys get paid. I got to make sure that not just my employees get paid, but I got to make sure that the bills get paid too. And when they don't get paid, it affects how you get into your next phase.
Right.
But when you're just an employee, sometimes you don't see it on that level because in your mind.
Yeah, man. Look, because we are here, since we are here pretty much living check to check, scraping and scraping. It's a whole nother world out there that we're not privy to or not savvy at all. And it's time that we have to start getting, economically literate, also politically literate. I hate politics. I hate them with a passion. But I understand that if you want to play that game, you have to learn how it works. Like, we think just voting is all you have to do, and there's more to that.
Here's the thing, though, Sean. And I don't want to mislead you. But the truth is, it's not about politics. It's about government. Because politics are just that. It's just politics. You can sit down all day and politic about religion. We can politic about a bunch of stuff. But how the government actually works and what's available for guys like you, guys like me, families like ours, we can win if we knew how the government works. Politics will tell you to vote Democrat. Politics will tell you to vote Republican. That's what politics are. But the government, that's where the shit is at. Which is why I laugh at people, because I actually understand government and you do too.
That's a good point.
Freedoms being taken away, and I'm like, what are you talking about? And people just always assume that I'm a Democrat because I say that, because I'm a liberal, whatever. I'm like, no, I know what freedoms are. So what are you talking about? what freedoms are being taken.
Right.
Those are first world problems that you're having taken away because you got to put on a mask to go to the store. But you can go to any store you want to. That's freedom.
Yeah.
Freedom is being able to go where you want to go when you choose to. Freedom ain't going to this person's store and telling that certain person, oh, you're going to serve me. That's not freedom. That's not freedom.
Right.
Because if you got on a shirt and some shoes, but you don't want to wear a mask, it's the same play. That's how I say no shirt, no shoes, no service. Because you got on a shirt and shoes. So walk in there bare-chested with no shoes on and no mask on. But you do everything that they say do in this store until they ask you to wear a mask and you think your freedoms got taken. No, they didn't. That's bullshit. That's just you being a first world crybaby. Stop it.
I agree with you.
Freedom being taken. It's not being disenfranchised. It's having your freedom taken. That's having your freedom taken. And you want to know real freedom taken away? Steal somebody from another country. Because now we got commercials about sex slaves. And that matters. But black slaves were taken from a whole other country, having their freedom taken from them and made to work in a whole other environment other than their own. Stop talking to me about your freedoms being taken away because that's not what's happening. Cut it out.
Ladies and gentlemen, the thoughts and views of Ronald Pierce and Sean Davis does not reflect those of Two Guys in the Mic and Two Guys in the Mic Incorporated.
Normally, I'm trying to make some shot. Today it's my fault. It's my fault. My bad. But that's real talk.
No, it is. No, man. Like you said, I agree. 100%.
I was playing with you the other day when I said that on your page. We have to get ourselves. When you put that thing up there about work, we gotta get out of this work.
About what now?
Remember when you put that thing on your thing about work? How I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. I just don't want to go to work.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I think we're gonna get to that point. I think this show might help us. Even if it doesn't, I think this will be a kind of a caveat to get us out of that thought process. Because we own this show. This is our show. Nobody can tell us what to do with our show. This is our show. Only person that can tell me what I can or can't do on this show is a dude on the other side of the screen.
And I can't even do that half the time. So it's whatever. But look, let's go ahead, man. We've ranted and raved the last half an hour.
By the way, I can't stand it.
So let's go ahead and wrap up another edition of.
Thank you guys for tuning in. For the tens and tens of you who are listening.
Right.
We appreciate you guys, and we're gonna try to keep the content coming. We're gonna try to keep ourselves relevant. We're gonna try to keep you guys interested in what we're doing.
Hey, if we keep telling you guys, like right now it's a slow period in sports. Like if you want us to discuss a particular topic, hit us up. Let us know. Like we don't mind talking about boxing, wrestling, pro wrestling.
I'm glad you said that, Sean, because I'm at this particular point, we're gonna have to bring in other people and other topics. And guess what? We grew up in a wrestling era. So that's gonna be a topic here real soon. Wrestling is gonna be a topic.
We can talk about pop culture, like movies, or just a little bit. We ain't gonna stray too much off sports, but every now and then, maybe if it's a little slow news cycle, maybe we'll venture off every now and then or something like that. But give us some suggestions about what you guys want to hear or want to talk about, and maybe we will invite you on the show as well, and you can dialogue with it. So,
Mr. Levante Davis, you can get on whenever you want to, especially if you sign.
Exactly.
Just throwing it out there. Did I say that before? I'm not sure if I said that before.
Right, and I told them that we have cookies, cupcakes, Polish boys, all the Cleveland staples, pierogies.
Listen, and we have an inside track to Crumbs on the Table Cookie Company, exactly. Mr. Levante David. They will bring you cookies every week.
Some of the best cookies in Northeast Ohio.
Man, what? Anytime you want them. Carte blanche again. Carte blanche. Carte blanche. Remember that word. Exactly. Most people don't know what that means. Carte blanche. So.
Carte blanche. All right, but you can catch us. Go ahead.
Having said that, I just appreciate you, Sean. I appreciate any of you guys who are listening, any of you guys who tune in to anything that we do. Continue to check in with us. Again, Two Guys and a Mic, 216 on Facebook, on Instagram, on all of our streaming platforms from Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, all of those streaming platforms. That's audio, and then also on YouTube, Two Guys and a Mic 216. Come check us out. Contact us. Holler at us. Let us know if you like it. Let us know that you don't like it. We won't take offense. Let us know what you guys think, and we can go forward from there to make this show better and make it more fan friendly for you guys. Also, if you have businesses, let us know what your businesses are, and we can try to promote your business on the show. Trust me, if you're promoting on our show, man, you know how many millionaires we made? I'm like Ike Turner. I made a ton of millionaires. Not
Ike Turner, man. Not Ike.
But for real, please let us know all that stuff, because we want to just continue to promote the local community and continue to promote ourselves. We love Cleveland. We're all about Cleveland. You can see our backgrounds. My man got downtown, the whole downtown landscape on his background. Mine is the Cuyahoga River. Who does that? Only people who love this doggone city. We love it. We love y'all. Sean, I love you.
I love you too, bro.
We'll check in with you guys real soon. Sean, you got anything?
Nope, not at all. So we'll catch you guys on the next broadcast. So I hope you guys have a good rest of your week and be safe. Stay warm.
Peace. Hey, y'all be careful out there, man. It's not good, but y'all be careful.
Peace out.